Once I had a pretty girl. Her name, it doesn't matter. She ran away with another guy. Now he won't even look at her. Hats off to Larry, he broke your heart, just like you broke mine when you said we must part. You tell new lies, now it's your turn to cry. Now that Larry said goodbye to you. I know this may sound strange, I want you back, I think you'll change. There's one more thing I gotta say. Hats off to Larry, you sound cruel. You laughed at me when you said we were through. You told me lies, now it's your turn to cry. Now that Larry said goodbye to you. To Larry, he broke your heart, just like you broke mine when you said we must part. You told new lies, now it's your turn to cry. Now that Larry said goodbye to you, to you, to you, to you.
Entering purple tier with the thought of another lockdown. I'm Schmitty, and this is Talkin Schmit. It's episode 99, and the wait is over. Actually, hold on. Before we get started, I'd like to put up another sticker. Hold on. It's Escapist from Kansas City, going up right next to our new friends in Dallas at the Point Skate Shop. Thank you to all you shops that have been sending me stickers on the regs. DM me if you need an address. I'd love to get you up there. And Jay, thanks for the shirt. Anyhow, today we have a life hammer. This is fucking Mofo, the OG motherfucker, from Thrasher Magazine's origin story. You can't even go close without bringing Mofo into the picture. He did many things for the first, second, third, including Skate Rock, Volume 1. Mofo and I worked together down in the dungeon for quite some time, and I got to see his son Diego grow up, and those days were very interesting to say the least, but it was really cool getting to meet somebody that I looked up to as a kid and read his articles and pages. And now at episode 99, I get to bring him to you all. And I know you've all had a tough year this year, 2020. But what I'd like to do is offer you a free GoPro. You ready? All you got to do, it's so goddamn easy that if you don't do it, I don't know why you're not doing it. Email talkinschmit@gmail.com and give me your number one favorite episode of 2020. I want to have a podcast awards, and I want to have a People's Choice Award winner go to all you that email me your favorite episode. After I get those emails for the 100th episode with that guy that we know who's going to be on the 100th episode, I will pick one lucky winner out of a hat for the brand new GoPro 12. That's 1, 2. Anyhow, do yourself, do myself, do us all a favor. Please email me asapferg. That's talkinschmit@gmail.com. number one episode between 53 and 100. Which one was your favorite? We had Ronnie Sandoval, we had Andy Roy, we had Jason Jesse, we had Brian Brannon, Tim Kerr. I mean, the list is, without tapping my shoulder too hard, pretty impressive, I'd say. So anyhow, that's one last time, talkinschmit@gmail.com. You can go to talkinschmit.com to see all the episodes that we've done, and you could just pick a random out of the hat. I don't care. Just email me who you think should win the People's Choice Award for 2020 on Talkin Schmit. Okay? Have I said enough? That opening song was Diego, Mofo's son. Hold on, let me read this to you because it's pretty cool. I asked Mofo, like, what's the background on that song? And he says, he told me this. This is what he told me, and I'm telling it to you. He says, that's a Del Shannon cover. I had Diego with us in the studio. The night before, he and I rehearsed it for about a half hour. I told him I wanted to make a version with him doing lead vox for his mom for Mother's Day. Only had time for one take. He nailed it. I think he was 13 years old. Diego, big love. I remember you pushing your Tonka toys around the office. But now that you're older and you can appreciate what we're about to talk about, here he is, kids. The original motherfucker himself, Mörizen Föche.
This is Mofo, and you're listening to Talkin Schmit.
It's cool, like tonight is the night.
Here we go again.
Just give it the old college try, right now.
Big dog's in.
Schmitty.
96 times, Schmitty.
Thanks, Schmitty.
We on? Schmitty?
Talkin Schmit. That's called go to the hospital, bitch. I'd be shitting my pants. Your Rolodex is fucking deep.
It's about the one.
Who is this guy? Thinks he's tough shit.
What's up?
We're tastemakers.
Come on, Schmitty, what the fuck?
Let's hear it for Drunk Injuns. Yeah!
I'm down here right next to the ramp in San Francisco, and this is episode 99, and I'm with Mofo. So listen up. I'm a little nervous, to be honest, because I don't really have any questions. We're just going to freestyle this because I've known Mo for a long time, and away we're going to go. Mo, how you doing?
Pretty good. Not too bad. It's a nice day in San Francisco.
Hell yes. We're going to go right into this. We're going to start out with, where were you born?
Palo Alto, Stanford University Hospital.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
All right, 650. I was born in Redwood City. And then where'd you grow up?
Mostly in Southern California, North County, North San Diego County, in a town called Escondido.
Oh, Escondido?
Yep.
That's where Jehovah is. What brought you to skateboarding?
Well, dusting off some old wooden clay wheel type boards that we found at the Goodwill for like 50 cents. And we rode them around the elementary school, and then kind of, cooked around with those for a little while, and then kind of hung them up, and then suddenly we discovered there was these things called fiberglass boards and urethane wheels, and then we discovered there was a skateboard magazine. And so we started looking at that, and a lot of guys would go skateboard over at the Avocado Bowl or whatever it was out by Escondido High School. And I didn't skate in it because at the time I had just had knee surgery, and but I would go there and watch my friends skate. These two guys that I grew up with from kindergarten, which we went to in 1965, and we'd known each other up through junior high and in high school, and so they would go out there in one of their brothers' minivan. Oh, these two guys named Rex and Javi. So we would go out there, and these guys would be scooting around in that little bowl. And then I saw Ty Page. He was there, and that was like the first pro skater I ever saw, and he was like doing nose wheelies around there and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, I saw that guy in the magazine. It's like, wow, this is cool. And I sat there and I tried to draw pictures of it, but I discovered I can't draw pictures of people moving around. It didn't work. So I just sat there with my crutches and watched. And then we would take weekend little jaunts out to San Elijo State Beach from Escondido. We would take the back roads and ride our 10 speeds out there with backpacks and whatever, at some cheap ass tube tent kind of thing. And we go out there, and there'd be one or two locals that were around there on these homemade fiberglass boards with all the fiber hanging out. These guys are like barefoot, and they're trying to, they're impressing the chicks. They're there talking, and they'd be scratching their feet really hard because it itch. And I was like looking at that, I went, man, this is cool, because like all the chicks that were camping out around there were digging it. These guys, loose bearing wheels with like Chicago trucks and like Power Paws or something. And
like, what years is this?
This would be like 74, maybe 75. Just
cool.
Getting out of junior high, getting into high school. And then I ended up moving. My dad retired from the Navy. He was stationed at Miramar, and so we moved up to San Jose, where my mom's family is from. So I'm like going to high school there and meet a couple guys that are skateboarders that are in my photography class. And one of the guys goes, yeah, man, I was in Skateboarder Magazine and 50 Hot Kids. And this guy was, they call him Stone Toes, because he gorilla gripped.
Okay.
And his name is David Gula. But he was telling me about this trip that he did at some KOA camp or something like that the summer before. And he goes, yeah, man, I met some people from Escondido. I was out, skateboarding around here, and these girls, and there was one girl named Norma Jean Lowe, and I'm like, holy shit, I know her. I'd known her since kindergarten. And as a matter of fact, I was out at a beach party right before I left to come up, and she told about meeting some skateboarders that were from San Jose. And that was you guys. Like, fuck, that's weird. And then from there, I got to know those guys, and they knew a guy who, he was a bus driver in San Jose, and he had some sort of accident on the job and hurt his back really bad, so he had some sort of disability. He took him to court or whatever, so he had a whole bunch of money. He decided he wanted to make skateboards. So he would be making skateboards in his garage, and he made all of the Pegasus skateboards that, what was that skate shop that was up in Los Gatos, I think Los Gatos or something, I forget what.
There was Go Skate and Sessions.
Before all of that. This was like in 76, 77. I'm trying, the name escapes me, but anyway, they had their own shop model. It was the Pegasus board that we made, and this guy, his name was Maori, so he made Maori boards, and we actually made one of the first half pipes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very early half pipe, and took it out to this parking lot where we had a contest in San Jose, and the thing was a half of a pipe with masonite on it, but with the smooth side down, because the logic was traction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that burned a lot of people. So they had the contest. There was no deck, no lip, just went up, and that was the end of the masonite. They had the contest. Blackheart won. I mean, it was sketchy as all hell.
Did you know Blackheart at the time or not yet?
No, it was one of the first times I run into him, and he and KT and Weston and Fly, those guys were kind of a crew that would show up at different places. They show up in the car and come out like, oh fuck, okay, let's sit down. Get out of their way. Just watch those guys.
Right.
Because they're gonna knock you out of the way anyway. It was always a treat to see, those guys and Blackheart, bigger than life.
Yeah.
Lots of charisma, that guy, and character, and energy.
And this is kind of before you are really into photography. You're just taking classes at this time.
I took classes at photography at high school because I had done all the art classes that they had there at that school. I had already completed, and then some, at the school I was at before. So I'm like going, oh, I already done this. I did this. Well, how about photography? Shit, we got to put you somewhere. Okay, I'll try that. And so I took a few skateboard photos out at Winchester. Early roll I shot at Los Altos Pool. I got a shot of Blackheart from there, and put a couple shots in the early Thrasher magazine.
These are some of your first photos you're shooting, after kind of knowing like what an aperture is and everything.
Yeah.
Rad.
Well,
okay.
I heard of apertures. I didn't have them.
Well, I mean, you took a class at your...
Yeah, they told me what it was. I just hadn't quite figured it out so good yet. But lucky for me that I guessed the right setting.
What camera were you... What was your first camera?
That was a Canon FTB.
Whoa, I've never even heard of that one.
Yeah.
I had the EOS one.
And this is before that.
Okay.
And it had a 50 millimeter lens. It was like really fast, maybe 1.5 or whatever. Because I'm like, couldn't understand why that camera could take great pictures, but these other ones didn't.
Right.
And I didn't know it was a dumbass lens.
Did you early on kind of build a formula in your head, like I have to shoot at least 1/500th of a second or 1/250th or something like that to make sure it's like, capturing and not blurry and those kind of things?
Eventually that, but I did a lot of like, oh, here comes a photo, and like spin this knob this way and I'll spin this knob that way. And the next picture I'll spin it back, and whatever it lands on, that's what it's gonna be.
Okay. More
and
like
then
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. And then after a while I'm like going, it didn't always work.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work. And then I started getting dialed in. Well, after Thrasher started shooting color, then I was getting some, because I was shooting a lot of Tri-X and Plus X and stuff, right, for the early stuff. But then, I was still trying to figure all that stuff out. Fausto and Eric, those guys told me, they go, hey man, just pretend you know. Walk into some place like you own the place, even though you've never been there before. Okay. So, I kept that pretty much in my mantra on a lot of other stuff,
How did you end up meeting Fausto and Eric and them?
At Winchester, when they had the Fly built that big keyhole in the back the pink keyhole. And there was like the Hester series stuff was coming up. And this was like around 77, 78, I think. Wait, yeah, something like that, because I was still in high school. And I'd go there at night in the evening and watch the guys sessioning, getting the bowl wired and all that stuff. I mean, back then it was kind of cool. What, you know, people just sessioned it for about a week or two before getting it dialed. Not like what happened later was like, okay, you got like organized practice and
Right.
like, what? You got a half an hour to, like, what the fuck, you guys? Fuck, this is skateboarding.
Right.
Not the NFL, not the fucking Boy Scouts. But I met Fausto, Eric, Novak, and Sherman. I remember Sherman got a Sharpie and drew all over, he grabbed my head and he drew all over my sunglasses, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And then he got a button, like those little, you know, fan
Little
buttons,
pin,
those
yeah.
1-inch things with a little poker thing. And then he stuck it into my forehead. Let's see how tough you are. Okay, what are you gonna do? Okay, so walked around for a while with a big old button on my forehead. But then, you know, I got to, you know, meet Fausto and Eric mainly, and I got to know Novak pretty good.
Right. So what was, I don't know much about Sherman though. He used the S in NHS, right?
Yeah.
And what was he a partner with Novak and?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I was like 18. I didn't, you know, thought more about trying to get laid than and getting people to buy me beer.
Right.
But you know, I just knew that there were these guys.
Yeah.
And then I heard that, you know, Sherman had passed away or whatever. But Fausto and Eric were up because they were the indie guys. And so indie was, you know, starting to happen. And then the weekend of the competition, the Clash were playing in San Francisco at Kezar Pavilion.
Oh shit.
And Dead Kennedys opening, and the Cramps, and then the Clash.
Damn.
So
that's all time.
So Olson and TA and Mark Baker and Tim Lockfelt, they wanted to go up to the show.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had a lowrider, and they were like going, dude, you're the resident punk rocker up here, and show us what's going on. I'm like, you guys think that? Okay, well, fuck, okay, I'm the ambassador. I'm ambassadoring now.
Yeah.
So we had a case of beer, and I think the whole inside of I had a 67 Grand Prix, lowered, primer gray, loud, fast. So we were all in there, and I'm trying to drive up to the city, and they're like dogpiling, jumping over the seats. The whole inside of the car was coated in beer. It was like mayhem.
Right.
I'm like, all right, this is cool. I'm ambassador. And that's what happens. So anyway, we get to the show. Mark Baker doesn't have any money. Mark Baker still owes me $10. Hear that, Mark? You can PayPal me or Venmo me.
Yep.
But anyway, I paid for him to get in. Actually, no, I think it was like $7 to get in. Anyway, it was cheap. So they go, come on, man. I'm like, all right. So they go, we'll follow you. So I'm like walking down the aisle, my elbows sticking out big on the sides, and just creating a big path for everybody to follow behind me. And we go all the way down there and keep going all the way up to the front. I mean, there's people dancing around. There's a big crowd, and I just knocked them out of the way, and, you know, trying to impress Tony Alva and Olsen, man, they're legends. I gotta show them. Norteño, man, we fuck shit up in the punk rock way.
Right.
So we do that, and we get all the way up to the stage. And then now what are we gonna do? I don't know. Let's just walk back and knocking people out of the way. And then we were standing around, and then we run into Fausto and his wife Gwen.
They were at the show?
They were at the show. And Bowman was there, and Salba, and I guess they came with Fausto or something. And Gwen had, poor Gwen, she had open-toed shoes. You know, she was dressed like perfect. I mean, for a fancy dinner.
For going out to dinner.
But I mean, she was hot. I think she might have even had hot pants on. But, you know, she had like strapped, open-toed, high-heeled shoes, and, you know, surrounded by skateboarders. And then, so these Dead Kennedys were playing. They were just about finishing. Jello got his clothes ripped off, and he got thrown in on top of the crowd. So he was naked. And then we saw these other guys walking around that had skateboards that were in there. I'm like, what the hell? Who are these guys? And it was like Jax. Early, the first Jax guys.
Okay.
Then I guess the Cramps were playing, or there was some music in between. And then, you know, Salba would be like walking across the open space on the dance floor. I would run out and grab him by the lapels and then just start spinning around. Both of us like, oh shit, and then letting go and, you know, going crazy and just going across and smacking into a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
And then that started to escalate into anybody who walked across that, like, got a running tackle and got knocked down. And then there were dog piles. And then there was a bunch of us like chasing each other around so we wouldn't get tackled or knocked down. And it turned into slam dancing. That was like the first time that kind of thing happened.
Oh, wow.
So here you got these guys from down south that are up there going, oh, this is what they do. And then the next thing I know, I'm like seeing that there's like, it's like an organized thing. I mean, we didn't call it slam dancing, call it dog pile or
But
whatever.
They call it like the Huntington Hop or something.
HB strut.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, but all that kind of was, these guys went all back to their respective areas, and however their impression of whatever they saw became whatever was around there. And I think it was probably one of those naturally evolving things where it just sort of happened,
Right.
you know. But we took it to, you know, we were just throwing each other around, and then if somebody fell down on the ground, then everybody jumped up and like, you know, like full-on professional wrestling, you know. And I was on the bottom one time, and one of the guys from the Jacks, he put his skateboard down to like push himself up, but it landed on my arm, on the inside by my armpit. I'm like, yeah, like this full, you know, the shaved down razor tail. I'm like, fuck, I had this biggest mark on my arm for the longest time.
Right.
And then, you know, the clash happened and everybody was pogoing, right? And so we just went, let's go for the stage. All right, charge. And we just charged the stage and we just started knocking people out of the way. And we got to the stage. The next one you know, we're standing on the stage. We're like, what the fuck? Wait, what do we do now? Go back. Okay. And so we were climbing across the heads of people and, you know, trying to get back and then go stand by Fausto and stuff again. And like, okay, next song we'll do it again.
Right.
You know.
The mag was already out at this time?
Nope.
Oh.
No, this is before the mag.
Oh, damn.
This is all stuff before the mag.
Like 70s.
Yeah, it was like 78.
Okay.
And then after that, we went to the Def Club and we saw the Germs were playing. And there was Jello. He was riding on a bike with 2 flat tires. And then I turned to find out that that's the way he always rode it.
Huh.
I guess. He'll probably have something to say about that. So anyway, there's Jello wearing a jumpsuit because all of his clothes got taken, ripped off his body.
And you guys knew who Jello was at that time?
Kinda. And so what we did is we had this new dance that we did, so we were trying to work it out, and we kept using Jello as our victim and shoving him onto the stage, and he was just taking it all in. It was great.
Right.
Then after that show was over, then we hopped into my lowrider with Jello, threw his bike in the trunk, and then we went to Susie Skate's house, which was out here, one of these warehouses up like probably about 2 blocks from here. And she had giant warehouse where people had, made rooms for themselves and all that stuff, and she would roller skate all over the place. Huge hallways, and she was in Skateboarder magazine one time.
Okay.
Susie Skates. And so we were skateboarding up and down the hallways, doing all kinds of stuff, and then we all passed out on a bed. Susie goes, "Yeah, there's a bed, you guys." So it was like, whatever, 5, 6 of us just all we were burned. And then we woke up really early, drove back down to San Jose, went to a Denny's, had some, eggs, and then we went to the contest, reeking of stale beer and sweat and bloody and all of that stuff, and that was like the main, the punk rock and indie and all of that kind of stuff came together all at once with black leather jackets and Dwayne. Oh yeah, Dwayne was around. I don't remember. He was probably at that show. Doing Dwayne stuff.
Right.
But, all those guys were, it was like insane kind of thing. And we just still had that energy carried over at the contest.
From the night before.
Yeah. I mean, we were 18. Olson was younger. I think he was like 16. TA, he was probably 20, 21. But yeah, we were all fired up and just ready to go off on everything. By that time, I'd gotten to know KT and Blackheart and Fly and those guys, because we would skate at Milpitas and Winchester a lot, so we got to know each other, and more so in the parking lot, smoking joints and drinking shitty beer.
Yeah.
And Blackheart, was kicked out, so he was always in the parking lot. He would play catch with the football, and there was a big, I don't know if you were ever at Winchester?
I didn't go there, no.
They had a big old glass window, right? And so whoever he was playing catch with would stand in front of that window, and Blackheart would always try and throw it to get it to crash through the window. So that was
shit disturber his whole life.
yeah, and that was one of the memories I have of that. A lot of evenings after sessions and stuff, we would adjourn over to KT's brother's house. He was a carpenter, and he had like a nice big house, and there was a big orchard behind his house. There was no houses right next to it. He had a big, like, barn garage type thing.
In San Jose area?
In Campbell, like towards Los Gatos.
Right.
Right near one of the Vans' original places that they used to make shoes at. But we would go up there and like sit out late at night and around we would have a bonfire and be sitting there, and I got to know KT pretty good. Eventually, at some point, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm starting to work on this magazine. Could use some illustrations and stuff. You know, you do drawings. I'm like, hey, I heard of this magazine. And prior to that, I had taken off to Southern California, and I was living with TA in Huntington Beach.
Oh, damn. You lived with Tony?
Yeah,
wow.
at Tony's house, you know, and his brother Mark and his dad Refugio, we called him DA for Daddy Alva.
Daddy Alva.
Yeah. You know, MA and TA.
Uh-huh.
And we would go to all the punk rock shows in Hollywood and stuff. We would hitch rides, and oh man, those were gnarly times.
Was he like larger than life? Like, was he? I mean, skateboarding wasn't as big back then, right? So people didn't like fan out on him. Maybe like he wasn't like a Hosoi, was he?
No, not at that period, because it was like the in between.
Right.
You know, skateboarder was kind of going down. I went to.
So just skaters recognized him.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. One night went to a show at this place called Bases Hall, and we're like, you know, no money, nothing. We're gonna go to the show. You know, didn't consider the fact that our pockets were empty. You know, so what we do, you know, I learned how to do panhandling. Hey, you got a quarter? You got, you know, and depending upon when we got enough money, what time it was like, you know what, the show's almost over. Let's just go get some 10 High whiskey and sit outside and listen to the music and get drunk.
Right.
Or sneak in. And at Bases Hall, we went around to the side, and there was Salba and Red Dog and those guys were there, and they're going like, give us a boost up, there's some windows high up there, and if I climb through that, I'll come down, and then I'll pop open the side door, and you guys just rush in. Like, okay, so I mean, here's all us guys like getting this, I forget who, might have been Salba that we got up there that would climb through and drop down, and then that door popped open, and then just like 10, 15 guys just rushed in, and like, we're in. And then it was like mayhem inside. I look over, and against one wall is this guy with his back to the wall, with his heel just kicking holes in the wall with his boots. Just gnarly. I think Black Flag was playing. And then, not long after we're in there, the cops come in and they maced everybody. And so we ran outside, we're like, ah! And then after a while, we went back in. And then we got maced again.
No way.
And then, but this time when we came out, there was a whole big line of riot cops with shields and batons and helmets, and we're like, oh shit. And so I was like one of the first guys out, right? So I'm like standing there going, oh man, are these? And then behind me, more and more punks are pouring out of the place, and I'm getting shoved closer and closer to the riot cops. And I'm like going, I don't want to do that. I mean, it's like I'm in front and I had nowhere to go. I'm just getting pushed closer and closer to them. And I'm like, ah. And so I put my head down and just slam danced my way through the line. These guys parted with their shields, and they just cranked me across the back with their batons.
Fuck.
And I just kept running and ran across the street, and this Volkswagen Bug was spinning out and trying to take off. And I ran and just jumped into the side window and go, keep going, get me the fuck out of here. You know, and then we ended up at Okie Dogs, and we just kind of waited there for, you know, to find out who survived and who got away, and everybody kind of ended up showing up there. That was like the default place to hang out. So anyway, that happened. And then the next day on TV was like a Rona Barrett, or whatever, one of the Hollywood insiders, whatever, she had a show, and she had Chuck Dukowski there, and she was talking, him about stuff, and then, you know, they were talking about the LA punk rock riots and all that shit.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, it was a big thing. I guess it was all over the place.
Right. Fuck.
So that happened. Then while I was down there, I don't know, I might have been down there about a month. I went to a bunch of shows. I saw Black Flag like in a garage, empty garage somewhere, all kinds of people there, and it was like an inch deep in like beer all
like
over.
the original Black Flag? Who was singing? Chavo? It was before Henry, right?
It might have been early Henry.
Oh, okay.
I don't like, you know, because
Oh, foggy.
yeah, I'd have to look at the year, but all I remember was loud, and it was, my feet were getting wet from the beer, and things kept shorting out. We all could have died.
Fuck.
But anyway, that happened, and then on this one other day, Mark, he said that he goes, "Hey man, they're gonna have a photo shoot thing at the Irvine Public Park, whatever, and snake run thing." And like, oh, that sounds like fun. Let's go skate that. And so I was hungover and woke up late, and everybody was gone. So I'm like, oh. So I went out, and I still had some change left from panhandling. I took a bus out there, and I get there, and I just missed some sort of photo session. I'm like, for what? There's no skate magazines. And Potato Head was there.
Ah.
And I'd known Potato Head and met him years before. A few years before, I went to, I took a road trip, me and Kiwi, we took a road trip down to Marina Del Rey. And I got to know a few types there. Friedman, he had a B-52 shirt. I'm like, what the fuck is B-52? Oh, it's a cool band. You love them. I'm like, all right. Then later I heard, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I run into Potato Head, and he goes, come here, check it out. And it was a mock-up of Thrasher Magazine before it was ever out. So it was like newsprint with like hand-drawn, like this is the logo, and then here's a box here with the word photo over it. Whoa. And then here's some lines here that are gonna be words. And then I'm like flipping through it, I'm like, oh, what the fuck is this shit? There's no pictures, there's no nothing. He goes, no, this is gonna be the magazine. This is gonna turn into a magazine? How long do I gotta wait? I mean, is it gonna happen in my hand? I mean, I had no idea what any of this shit was.
Yeah.
No, this is gonna be Thrasher. Yeah, all right, good luck with that.
Uh-huh.
And then a few months later, you know, I'm talking to KT. He goes, hey man, I want you to like draw some pictures, kind of like the pictures that are on that Jam album in the sleeve where the lyric sheets are. There's like these ink drawings of these mods. He goes, something like that style. And then write a story. I'm like, what? I mean, I understand the picture. What the fuck story thing? And so that ended up turning into Wild Riders Aboards.
Huh.
And so I would drive up to the city, hand in these sheets of typing paper that I typed out on a really shitty typewriter. I had no idea what I was going to do. These are the drawings. And,
that's amazing.
you know, and then he would put it together, and then I would go to Fausto or Eric and going like, can I get paid now? You know, and so they would give me like $50 for.
So you started kind of just as a contributor in these illustrations.
Then after a while, I got this big duffel bag or whatever and put all my punk rock albums in there and some, you know, shoes, boots, shirts, and all that stuff, and took a bus up to San Francisco and go, I'm moving to San Francisco. Again, no idea what the fuck I was. I'm here.
Just going for it.
And I just went. And then.
And Fausto lived in the city, right?
Yeah. He lived up Twin Peaks.
Okay.
On Juanita, I think. I still remember that shit. So anyway, I had KT's number. I'm like going, hey, T. Well, no, I called the number and Swenson answered. I go, hey, I'm in the city, blah, blah, blah. And He goes, well, all right, this is the address, this is where I'm at. And I'm like, okay. So somehow I figured out how to take the bus up the top of Potrero Hill.
Damn.
And then, you know, as Swenson used to tell it, he goes, yeah, man, we found Moped on the fucking curb with his bag of all of his belongings, and we felt sorry for him, so we gave him a job. That's kind of true in a way, but I walked up to the place and knocked on the door. And they let me in, and then basically they're going, okay, you want a job? Okay, you can go in and help at the magazine, and, you know, we'll give you like, you know, $75 a week or something like that. I'm like, okay.
And where was the mag at that time?
In Hunters Point.
Not at the place it is at now? No.
No, out in the shipyard.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, out in the shipyard.
Where Ermico was, right?
Yeah, but the dark room was in the apartment that Swenson and Kate, or the flat that Swenson and Kate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, up at the top of like 20th and Tajero. And so there was no bedrooms. So I slept underneath the counter on 2 couch cushions that I drug home and a pillow. And I had a little tin bread box and a tiny dresser. And that was my whole existence.
Fuck.
And I would get messed up so many times because I decided, like, oh, I'm gonna skate down Tajero. And just like halfway down one block, got the speed wobbles and just ate shit and ripped my knees apart in the middle of the street. So I got all the road grime in there, and I got infected, and I got, you know, I had to go to emergency, thought I was gonna die. And I had no money. I'm like, and, yeah, so I would stay there like shivering with a fever, and I had a little jar that I would squeeze the pus out of my knee into the jar.
Fuck.
And then, but you know, every night I would go down, skate downtown. I would take, you know, if I missed the bus, that's when I hurt myself, skating down the hill. But normally I would take the bus and 19 Polk and take the 19 Polk way out to, once it got to Broadway, and then I got on a skateboard and skated up Broadway, and then I ate shit going through the Broadway tunnel.
Damn.
Yeah, because I was like going fast, and I had my hand like on the railing, like just so I could keep my space, and like, and then it had a break in it with, you know, the chain where you could walk through.
Right.
So my hand went down and hit the next railing, and I just spun out and hung up on the thing, and my board flew into traffic and just went all the way down towards Columbus, limping down to the show, like trying to find my board. Found my board, then I go to the Mab and see a bunch of shows.
That was Mabuhay Gardens?
Yeah. And that was before the On Broadway was open.
Oh, okay.
And so I would do that, then I'd take a bus home, and sometimes I would miss it, so I would like walk all the way up Potrero Hill and, you know, drag my ass in at about 2 or 3 in the morning, lay down. The next thing I know, it was like Swenson's like kicking my feet. Let's go, Moped. Going to work. What the fuck? What time is it? 7:30. We're already late. Oh, man. Okay. So I would get in there and, you know, he'd go, here, roll a joint. Okay. So, you know, roll a joint, and we'd smoke the joint on the way into the shipyards, and I'd go in there, sit down, and then Fausto would come in. I had an office, sat in an office at this old desk in this room with Fausto. So it was me and Fausto. Damn. And he would walk in with a big paper bag, throw it down on my desk. He goes, your job today is roll all of that weed into joints. And then later he goes, okay, you're gonna do all the collecting for the ads and all that stuff. So he would give me, you know, and this is the in-call and the debit credit and all of that stuff. So I would do all of that, and I was like the receptionist at the time, so the phone rang, I would answer it. Thrasher Mag!
Damn.
Like, just like, ah! And the people are like, what the fuck? And then, you know, they give me a little bit more to do here and there, and they go, man, we got to get some more photos. I go, hey, I know how to take photos. I took photo, 101 in high school. You still know how to do it? I go, well, I kind of forgot, but I mean, I just go to City College and take a refresher course. So I did that. Just got retained and remembered all the stuff that I had forgotten about the darkroom, mixing chemicals and all that shit.
Yeah.
Came back and they go, okay, build us a darkroom. Oh, okay. All right. So I had my little FTB camera with a 50 millimeter lens.
Yep.
And this was like around the time the Mike Smith interview, that red cover.
Yeah.
Okay, that's around that time because a lot of the photos that I shot of him in there are with that camera and that lens.
Okay. So cool. Real quick though, is the story true? What I heard was Fausto and KT were looking for a name and Dwayne Peters told him it's Thrasher.
I don't know how the order of that information came, but I'm fairly certain that it originated through Dwayne.
From Dwayne, and then KT kind of built the font.
Yeah.
Okay.
But somewhere, I think I had like the little yellow ruled pads of paper, the yellow kind, line paper.
Oh, right.
That Dwayne drew a cover.
No way.
Or drew something. I think I have it somewhere, but it's like it's with Sharpies and all that stuff. So it's a lot of that stuff is fading.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely forgot about it, but I have that somewhere.
Sick. That's insane right there. That's like Smithsonian or something.
Yeah. But I mean, it'd be good to get that and get it scanned and try and bring the color back before it fades completely.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Thrasher was a couple issues in. The first half of the first year of Thrasher is when I was contributing.
A large format still.
Yeah. And then a few months later, like in the second half of the first year of Thrasher, is when I had moved up. And I told those guys, I go, if you take this tabloid and you folded it in half and you stapled it along the edge and you cut off the top, you can have way more pages for the same amount of paper. They're like, holy shit. And that's where that first small issue came out, that yellow and green one with I forget who they had, Downhill on there, and I forget who else was on.
It's like October, I think. I think the first 10 are the big format, and then November and December are.
Yeah, but that was my fault for doing that, because I guess KT wanted it to be big like Rolling Stone and a tabloid thing and all that stuff, which I found out later. But I was like, just always thinking of ways to get away with doing shit for cheap.
Yeah.
Cheat if I have to. I still do that. That's how I get by.
How long were you guys out at the shipyards?
The new building. To me, that's still the new building. Yeah, the Underwood building. I think it was like around maybe 86 or 87.
Oh, okay.
I was the last one to move out. I was like working by myself and in the shipyards.
Oh shit.
In the empty thing while they moved everything else, and until we got in between an issue, then I could take everything down and go there.
Damn.
But it was.
Was Ed Riggins in the mix at this time?
Oh, he was out. He was out at the shipyards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
man.
They were all just kind of like, they were biker buddies, and they were into metal, and that's how the truck thing came. Like,
well, I believe they were motorheads.
Motorheads.
They like bikes,
Wrenching on
motorcycles.
shit, yeah.
Yeah, wrenching on engines and cars and things, and they, you know, there's a small group of guys that did that. You know, because Riggins, he worked at Mörizen Föche or whatever building. I just know that he worked at that place. I think Swenson and Fausto, they started a foundry and were making some stuff. But somehow, you know, these guys would get high as fuck, and with all the other guys that they knew, like, were tool designers and engineers and whatever.
Yeah.
And they would just, hey, let's do this. So I guess that they had the great idea of, like, making this stroker trucks.
The stroker, yeah.
You know, and the independent steering and all that stuff. So somehow that got started, and then they did the downhill racing.
Right, at Laguna.
Not Laguna Seca, but at Tunnel Road or whatever. The
Oh, okay, right.
you know, the skate car stuff, and Terry Nails was a pilot.
Yeah, that thing they had in the hallway, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking gnarly.
Yeah, you know, total route, like
Evil Knievel shit.
total biplane type shit.
Yeah.
You know, early airplane, you know, without a parachute.
Oh, wow.
And so they did that, and then that evolved into doing the rebound double kingpin. I think it was kind of, that didn't do so good, and then they created the indie thing, and the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Yeah, and they started making money and all that stuff, and then Action Now shut down, and all that went away, and they're going like, well, wait a minute, we just started making money. So in order to have an industry for them to keep selling that, they created Thrasher.
Right.
Yeah. So I would be, you know, Stesic would send, you know, do a lot of stories and send them in, and I would put them together, and
He was early on, yeah.
yeah. I mean, once a month or so, Fausto, Swenson, and Novak, they would go out for business lunch.
Yeah, do you know where that spot is?
Yep.
What is it?
Cafe Sport.
Is it still there?
Yep.
Fuck, I gotta go there.
Oh, man. It's in North Beach.
Okay, yeah, I heard
Yeah.
that. And
Cafe, C-A-F-F-E.
Okay. And they would have their business.
Yeah, they took me
Lunch
there
or-
once.
Uh-huh.
Man, pigged out. It was so good. But yeah, they'd come back. They would all be lit on, you know, a couple bottles of wine and whatever else, reeking of garlic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was just, it was cool. But anyway, they come back, and Fausto goes, Mofo, come here. Novak's gonna go. He's gonna talk to you, okay? And you do what he says. Okay. And then so Novak takes me into a back room. I'm sitting there, so what's going on? He goes, okay, we need you to start writing. I don't know how to write. That's not a problem. Really? Okay. Well, how do we figure this out?
Yeah.
He goes, here's this book. Read this book, and when you're done with this book, you'll know how to write. Really? Okay.
What book was it?
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Ah, okay.
So I read the book, and then we go down to
Damn,
Morro
that's
Bay for a
crazy.
slalom contest. Slalom contest, right?
Yeah.
And I come back. It's time to write the story. So I take some acid. And I whip out like 20-something pages typed. And then I call Fausto at like 3 a.m. like going, Fausto, this writing shit, I can't feel my fingers. And I can't even see the pages anymore, and the TV keeps doing weird stuff. And he just like, fuck you, shut up, you asshole.
Stick with it.
Yeah,
Get
And
it
then
done tomorrow.
he was laughing his ass off. He goes, "What did you do?" "I took some acid." He goes, "You idiot." Okay. So that was the Morro Bay story.
Right.
Yeah. So I wrote about everything.
It was super influenced by Hunter S. Thompson, right?
Well, yeah, because it's like, I read that, I'm like going, oh, you write about everything.
Yeah.
So I wrote about everything.
Yeah. I remember like a lot of the contests you would go to, it wouldn't even be about the contest. And that's what was sick. It was like, we went here, there was an insane burger spot, and fucking this guy got wasted. Yeah, but who won the contest? Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, then I go, man, I got to wrap this thing up. I go, oh, okay. And then the finals, so and so, what?
Yeah.
What kind of tricks did they do? I don't know.
Yeah.
What did Caballero do?
Hopefully I got a photo of one of the top 3.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just like a little formula, and I tried to put it together. And so, you know, and then he said, well, just start writing. And then so I just tried to figure out different ways to approach this writing thing.
Okay.
You know? And people would go, oh, you're a writer. Not really.
Were you on a typewriter?
That took too long. I couldn't figure that out too good.
So just handwritten?
So I was doing handwritten. I'd give it to Fausto. Fausto would take it home. His wife, Gwen, would type it all out on sheets, double space, and then bring it back to me. Then I'd go through and then I'd spec it so it could get sent to a typesetter.
Holy
and then
shit.
we would bring the galleys back of 12 feet of one column, and then cut it apart, and then we would wax. This is before computers.
How long was that process? Like once you got the proof back from Gwen till like it was all typeset, and like how long did that take?
A couple days.
Just a couple days?
Yeah.
Fuck, I would think it would be like a week or something.
And the typesetter was over here, not far from Deluxe.
Oh, okay.
You know, and so we would be out.
It's crazy how everything stayed kind of like. Didn't KT or somebody have a place right over here somewhere? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Yeah, not far from the bottom of the hill.
Right.
Place.
Fucking crazy. So at that time when you started writing, did that kind of evolve into you thinking about writing lyrics and getting in a band and stuff?
Oh no, I was doing all that before Thrasher.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
When I came back from living with TA, I came up to the city. I was at a New Year's Eve show at 10th Street Hall, and I ran into Mike Fox, and he's going, "Hey man, I want to let's get together and jam and do a band," because we'd always talk about that kind of thing, kicking it around, at Winchester, being in the parking lot. We go, "Hey, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that," you know.
Right.
But he goes, "Hey, I really want to." Well, and he used to work in a skate shop.
Oh, okay.
Systems. And so you go to the skateboard shop, and he'd be behind the counter with a guitar and an amp, and the counter was really long, and he had 50-foot long cord or whatever. So you go, "Hey, I want to get some ACS, metal base plates for my minutes because they cracked." Okay. And so he'd be playing the Ramones as he walked down the case, hit a power cord, boom, open the case, pull it out, put it on the top, and then come back, and then it'll be however much.
Right.
So he was always practicing. So I practiced a lot, and so I got a couple guys together, and I'm gonna do a band. I go, okay. And so the following weekend, I go over to Ray Stevens' house, meet Ray for the first time. He's still in high school.
Fuck.
And Mike Fox goes, "Yeah, I got a name and everything, and we got a show."
What the fuck?
Whoa, what? Yeah, we got a show, and in a month at the MAB. We're opening.
No way.
And so we got to come up with a set. Are you serious? Okay. Well, and so we did that. The name of the band was Los Olvidados. And while I was doing that is when I was submitting the Wild Riders of Boards. So I would, after going up and seeing the mag printed, I'm like, oh, my story's printed. I'm like, ugh. I felt like, what's his name? Steve Martin and the Jerk was like, now I am somebody, you know.
Yeah.
Where they had the phone book.
God.
I mean, that's what it felt like. I'm like, oh, geez. So I would come home with a couple of issues and I was just stoked.
Fuck, yes.
$50. Burning a hole in my pocket.
Yeah.
So I'd show up to practice and give those guys, the mag and stuff. And they were like, wow, this is great. And so then we went and we wrote a bunch of songs, went up and played the show. And that was great. And then...
so your first show, you got booked before you even had a song, really?
Yeah.
And then you had to, create a set list in that time to get to the... we got the destination, now we got to get the material.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And this is the best part. Later is when I decided to move to San Francisco, and then then I'm working at Thrasher. And so I told those guys, hey, I'm going to be up in the city. I'm going to work for the magazine. They said I can't do the band anymore because I got to dedicate my time to this, so I'm going to have to stop doing the band. They're like, oh, okay, whatever. Nobody cared. And so Mike Voss went from playing second guitar to vocals. And so anyway, I'm up in the city doing that bit. And so they wrote a whole new set. Okay? They took, and then Voss put some lyrics, his own lyrics to one or two of the other songs.
Okay.
So that was that. Then later on, when I came to do the skate rock thing, and I told them, I go, hey, how about if we do the band with the old setup that we were, when I was singing with Los Olvidados, and then I want you guys to be on this album. He goes, well, we can't be Los Olvidados 1 and Los Olvidados 2. I'm like, oh, you're right. Well, I'll think of something. So while I was at City College learning Photo 101 again, I had also taken an art class. And in there, they were making masks. That was one of the art projects.
Oh, sick.
I'm like, oh, I can make masks and go up there. If I make masks, Fausto and Eric won't know it's me. And because their logic was, they go, we don't want you to be doing band business and doing all this stuff while you should be doing magazine business. Don't mix it up.
Right.
So that was why the Drunk Injuns, that came about is because me and Swenson were at some nightclub or whatever.
That's the
and I'm like
shit.
powering down this pitcher of margaritas. And he goes, you fucking drunk Indian. I'm like, so I got a can of beer and I wrote Drunk Indian on it, Bud. And I had that on my desk. And then I look at that and I'm like, Drunk Injuns. That could be the name of the band. And these masks, I'll make masks and make them like ghost warriors. And say we're from North Dakota.
Yeah.
And then that way, nobody would know it was me. Nobody would call me about it at the magazine because they wouldn't know it was me. And that's why I tried to have that mystique happening to remove me from it. And then after we play, I'll write a story about us all getting killed. Because we were only going to do one or two. That was it.
Right.
And then and it kept going. But the thing is,
that's amazing. Did people know right away, or there was a time where people didn't know?
Yeah, there was a long time that people didn't know.
Oh, that's amazing.
And a lot of time where people go, shh, don't worry, I won't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Secret.
But the main Drunk Injuns songs now are those songs that we wrote really fast for that show.
As Los Olvidados?
Yeah.
Oh.
So Drunk Injuns is the original lineup of Los Olvidados.
Okay. So like, what's like one of the first songs that got written?
Like For Real, Heal Me was probably before that. Your Mama.
Oh man.
You know.
Your Mama is so sick.
Oh, Your Mama, man. I wrote that in one shitting. Actually, I was listening to The Cure, Killing an Arab.
Oh yeah.
And then just the way the guy was like singing like I'm like going, oh, okay. So I had that in my head. And then so I went in to take a shit. When I came out, the song was done. Your Mama.
That video that I think the guy's name was the Captain or something.
Oh yeah, Video Commander.
Video Commander, yeah. Present, past, present, and future.
Yeah.
That was insane. Like for me, it was like Mark Gonzalez, who was everything, and then what the fuck is this? Tales of Terror, Drunk Injuns, Skate Rock. What is this? I mean, we just ate it up because I did Tim Kerr a little while ago, interviewed him, and I was telling him, I was like, you had skateboarding on the cover of a vinyl album. I didn't even care. I just bought it. Like, duh, you know? And what you guys did, like, that whole thing was insane. But the reason I brought it up is whatever the song, She's Got a Gun,
She
right?
Got a Gun. Yeah, that's another one of them.
That's one of my favorites because that's in there. The beginning, like Fox is like, and then it's dun, 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 the build up. Oh man, just so classic and much respect.
That was us learning how to be a band.
That's crazy though, that those were the early songs.
Yeah, those songs were
That's always how it works. Like the magic is when you're learning and then you get it and you're like, we could just make whatever.
Yeah, you get spoiled.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, most of those songs were written in 80, 81. And then a handful other ones were written in 87 because we did the album.
Okay. Hey, let's take a quick little break and hear from some of our friends, and we will be right back.
Hey, it's Corey at Blue Plate, 3218 Mission Street. Come see us. Meatloaf, fried chicken, deviled eggs, Dollar Olympia beers. We're here every day of the week. We got a garden, and we got smiles on our faces. Come let us make you happy.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the skate rock though. Like, it was a huge thing. Like, big boys. It's funny because I interviewed Brannon and then I interviewed Kerr, and I could tell that they had a little bit of like, not beef, but you could just tell like who was first.
Yeah.
We were first, whatever.
Like the Alva Orton
but like we don't,
area.
and both of them said we don't give a fuck. I don't care. But just talk about like meeting like those dudes in Texas and seeing their scene, and then like SoCal and seeing their scene, and like like was it kind of a brotherhood or was it more competitive and like, man, those guys are kind of weak, or like how was the vibes?
Well, I think like for us it started, my exposure to it is we would be partying out at Fly's apartment. Fly and Steve Weston, they lived together in Mountain View, and we would go there and drink and party, and that's when we first heard The Clash. The first album of The Clash, Talking Heads, 77, and Devo. I think Blondie was in there too, but I never liked Blondie. But anyway, we're like listening to that stuff and we're singing along. We're going like, you know what? We can do this. And so late at night, you know, we would be sitting there, after listening to those records, then we would like get pots and pans, the backs of chairs with like a wire grating and like a cooking spoon, you know, and we would just be this weird, you know, Spike Jones band, you know.
Right.
But we would like be, you know, doing Psycho Killer and all that stuff, and just, hey, Psycho Killer. And then Weston, he had an acoustic guitar, so he would play that. So we would be doing that. I'm like, going, man, we could do music. And then not long after that, it transitioned into, you know, what I said about Mike Fox and going to create a band for ourselves in San Jose. And at that time, there weren't very many, maybe 4 or 5 bands. I mean, there were a handful.
Right.
So that was that existence before Thrasher. Then I'm at Thrasher, and see, I went and hung out with TA and those guys, because, you know, a lot of those guys, Olsen would be, you know, starting a band and all that stuff, and it would be like skating and starting a band. I mean, that was like what
Hand
you
in
did.
hand. Yep.
You know? And so that was just, hey, we got to start a band, I guess. And it's that energy. We got to do something.
Right.
So I had, you know, I didn't know any better. Just like, you know, here, read this book, you'll know how to write. You know, like, oh, okay.
Right.
So this was like, hey, you know, skateboarding, and so being in a band and starting a band and then going to the MAB and seeing all that, you know, made sense. So I'm doing the magazine and stuff, and I keep getting these cassette tapes in, and I'm like, listen, I'm getting like stuff from like Die Kreutzen and Borscht, you know, from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You know, compilation, there would be like these compilation tapes that people would do from wherever, and they would like get music from these different bands, and they would put them together on a compilation tape, and then, you know, shitty tapes, and send them out, and then people would have these you know, they were never an album. I might even have 1 or 2 of them left.
Right.
That if you listen to it, there's all these bands on it. I lost whatever the information was, so it was like blue thing on it saying music. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is side 1, music misspelled, and then music correctly spelled is side 2. And so we listened to it, and then that's when I heard, the first time I heard JFA and stuff, but I didn't know who it was. You know, because there was no identification on there. So eventually, you know, I think they sent me a copy of that single, and then at some point, the Big Boys sent me the album, the first album, and I'm like, oh man, this shit's great. And I'm like looking at all this stuff. I'm going, man, there's a whole bunch of these things where, and I'm going, you know what? You could take a bunch of these songs, put them together on one album, and have this like, you know, skate rock and roll kind of punk shit. And so I was thinking that, and then one time, you know, rolling joints for Fausto, like going, hey, you know, I keep getting all these things, this music and stuff from all these skateboard bands. You know, we should do like an album or something with all that. He goes, great, do it. Well, no, wait, no. I was like saying, you guys should, no, your idea, you do it. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Read a book. Fuck. Okay. So anyway, that happened, and that's how that came about. And he goes, what are you going to call it? I go, I don't know, skate rock, whatever. I mean, it's okay. That was just kind of sort of what we had a name for it. And that's what it ended up staying.
But you named the first one Volume 1, so you knew you wanted to do more.
Well, I name a lot of things Volume 1. I lose track.
Okay.
Well, the thing is that there was enough to do another one.
Second. Okay.
But, you know, we'll see how this works out.
And did that spark people like, I want to be a part of that, I'm making a band? Like, did bands start to come together after skate rock came out?
Yeah, and then people like going, you know what? We're going to start skating so we can be a skate rock band. I'm like, well, that's not
how it works.
You know, that's not, I mean, there could be a country western band. If they all skate, that's skate rock.
Yeah.
You know, if they're doing that and they're off time from hardcore skating, it's skate rock. It's just not like, hey, you know, we got to our bassist started skating, so can we be on your next compliment? No.
Yeah.
No, not just no, but fuck you. So anyway, that, came to put that together and put a couple of them together. I drew the artwork for the first one, kind of a composite of Henry Rollins and Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk's body, Henry Rollins' head on the Palmdale ramp. I did a little ink drawing of that.
Yeah.
But, that became a thing, and then after a while, that's when Fausto and Eric are going, hey, so let's do a Drunk Injuns album. We know it's you. When did you find out? Well, when you kept leaving the photocopy in the Xerox machine, we kind of figured out it
like making flyers or something?
Yeah, like making flyers, and I'd forget to take the thing out of the top. And, yeah, but since you went out of your way to be anonymous, then we didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't talk about it at work, or I didn't want to interfering with. I had too much to do.
Right.
And then I would kill us in a plane crash after every show. And then after that, it got kind of cliche, so we died in a bus crash. So anyway, after a while, then the bands ended up being kind of connected. I ended up talking to each other because we discovered each other's existence. And, I don't know if JFA was playing before the big boys first played, or if either of them played before that day that Mike Fox asked me to be in the band, and we had a show right away. But I mean, at the very least, they happened around the same period of time, probably within the same year, independent of each other, unknowing of each other's existence. Amazing. And which is also the same thing which happened with skateboarding. You had a cluster of them in Reno. You had a cluster of them in Sacramento,
right?
Berkeley, San Francisco, San Jose, and then, but then there'd be wide spaces of none. Then there'd be LA, San Diego County, and then Texas, and Nebraska, and Chicago, and New York, and Boston, and DC. But in those areas, that's where it was, but there wasn't much of anything between those places.
Okay.
You see,
yeah.
and that was with skateboarding, and then the bands ended up coming up from there. Like the Necros.
Right.
I mean, they were skater type guys, and so were the Borscht and Die Kreutzen.
What about the faction? Did they kind of start because a reaction to skate rock? Like, Cab's a skater, let's get him in the band? Like, how did that?
I don't remember, because I think they're on the first.
They are on the first one, huh? AUK maybe?
Yeah, but I think what happened with that is that it might have got rushed through, like they were kind of dabbling.
Okay.
And then I think since we were coming out with this thing, they put some stuff together, but I mean, it's kind of fuzzy, but I also seem to remember Caballero, pushing his 45 or whatever, like Rough Trade Records and all that stuff before that.
Huh.
So I think they might have had like a little thing going, but then when we had this, that they really got down and made some stuff recorded specifically for this, which was kind of cool. But back at that time, those guys were the little kids,
right?
And here we were, like, drinking in bars,
right?
Snorting coke off of tits, smoking weed like crazy, getting in riots, getting into the nightclubs that they couldn't get into,
right?
So
they were a bit removed from like.
But we at that time, they were the little kid band to some of us, because at that time, which is kind of funny, is here seeing them, you know, that they were going to play their last show and all that stuff, which I couldn't get into. Couldn't get a free pass. But I look at that and I see like all of these people that are like singing along with all that stuff, and I'm going, fuck, they're just these kids.
Yeah.
But they used to be that little kid band, but now they're these old middle-aged men little kid band. But you know, having heard the music for so long, and you know that I became really familiar with it, and then things changed when we got in our 30s and 40s. The distance between the distance between like 15 and 21 is like 1,000 miles. But the distance between like 35 and 41 is a couple blocks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, you know, that all changed. But back then it was like, oh man, you know, we're the fucking punk hardcore guys. Again, back then, the music kind of grew in the areas where there was those pockets of skateboarders. Because the thing is they'd go skate together, and then when they were done, they'd go, what do we do now?
Right.
You know, hang around, get drunk, TV party,
Yeah.
you know? Or, you know, let's go watch Dallas. But instead they go, you know, let's go steal some instruments.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a few episodes of that. I won't say what, because people will figure that out.
Right.
But they would do that to entertain themselves, and then what happened back in those old days is people would throw shows. They'd go to a hall, they'd rent the hall for X amount of dollars, and they'd rent a PA.
Oh, damn.
And then they'd get a tub with beer or whatever, and then they'd put out flyers. People would show up. They'd charge, you know, $3-5 or whatever. The place would load up. The people who were put together the show, probably some people ended up being big promoters now, today.
Yeah.
But they started out by these, you know, in a church or in a veterans hall or old folks home or, you know, whatever. Not clubs, but these would be garages or whatever.
Right.
And these bands would get together and play. They would figure it out, and you know, nothing could stop them.
Kind of DIY style.
Total.
Yeah.
And then they got known, and so they would drive around, and you know, I remember DOA, they would drive around and play anywhere.
Right.
You know, they played at Kevin's brother's place out there. You know,
damn.
We played out there too.
Yeah.
You know, we were just creating our own scene and being our own entertainment.
Right.
And then like, whew, looks like it is something. We made an album. What the fuck? Really?
Let's do another one.
I guess I'm an album now. So yeah, there was a lot of that, but it was like osmosis, you know, that these pockets of skateboarders and skateboard bands, you know, kind of interchanging, sort of grew. And then that's why Fausto, I don't know if he was the seed of the idea, but I think through conversations or whatever with Stesic and Stacy and whatnot, they go, hey, you know what, you got all these pockets all over the country. Let's throw a contest in the middle of the country.
Right, Savannah.
So as everybody can have the same amount of driving distance. And that's where the Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, okay. And Savannah, Georgia, right?
That was later, after that was street.
Okay.
But the Midwest Melee is, we went to the center of the country so it'd be closer for other people so they could come check it out.
No way.
You know?
And did people like come and camp and like, or was
Probably.
it? Yeah.
I don't know. I stayed in a hotel and was lit most of the time. You know?
Right. But Fausto was into that shit. Was like, let's go to where the people are gonna get hyped on.
He said
because they don't see it.
Instead of trying to get people to come to skateboarding, bring skateboarding to the people.
Right.
You know, and you know that was when vert was still a big deal.
Yeah.
And then later, 87, I think. Yeah, the month-long European tour. That's when the Savannah thing happened. And I was rooming with Skipper.
From SMA, right? Skip Engblom, yeah.
I'm like trying to write this, you know, in between going to shoot the contest, I would sit in the room and I was like trying to write the story for Europe. And then Skipper and I are deeply involved in certain substances. And during the day, in the afternoon, you know, we wake up and he would look out the window. He goes, "Well, there's something you don't see every day." I'm like, "What's that?" He goes, "Ku Klux Klan in full robes," and but they're like, some of them had pastel colors.
Whoa, in Savannah.
Yeah.
Whew.
That's right outside our hotel, which is about 50 yards away from that bench that Forrest Gump sat on for the bus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, that's where that was, where we were at. So we were at there, and then like people would, you know, like, "Hey, we're supposed to stay with you in this room." I'm like, "Fuck you, get out." So it's just me and Skipper locked in there, you know, with whiskey and whatever we could smuggle on the airplane. Fausto and Eric tried to keep us apart a lot of the time. I would go down south to shoot all the Venice, Nodus, and all the hardcore new street skating. But then, you know, Skip and I would stay up for like 3 days. And I would keep missing the airplane, and Fausto and those guys would get pissed because they're like, "Oh, fuck, man, every time you guys get together, you fuck up and do." "Oh, I'm sorry."
Wow. How did you know Skip? Like, he was in Venice, right?
Yeah, I met Skip for the first time when about 77 or 78. When I went out to, I used to go out to Modesto Skate Park, Heatwave.
Oh.
And I used to skate out there all the time. Do little road trips out there with Kiwi and Dan Caceres and a few other types. And we'd go out there and sleep in the car. I had a Mustang. So 4 or 5 of us sleeping in the Mustang. A 68 Mustang.
You've had a bunch of cars.
I've gone through some, yeah. The cops took some of them away. Yeah, it's like, I don't like that one anymore anyway. But anyway, there was some event there or whatever, and Skipper was there, and he had some, you know, he was trying to sell some boards out of his van or whatever. And so I was over there looking at him, and he was like telling me the whole thing, and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't got any money." He's like, "Fuck you, man. You made me go through that whole thing." And well, I just wanted to see it.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I met Skip. And then I knew who he was. And then one day at Thrasher, Skip called and said, "Hey, I'm up in town. I'm over at Skates on Hate or whatever, dropping off some boards. I was wondering if I could come out and see you guys." I'm like, Skip Engblom? Like, sure. So I told him how to get out there. He comes out. KT blows him off. Fucking, they're like, I'm like going, this dude is like the dude. I knew who he was. And they just didn't register none of that.
Right.
Although they kept talking about that scene. The Zephyr, this and that. And I'm like going, because I'm like showing them, "Hey, look who I got." And they're like, "Who the fuck is that old fuck?" I'm like, yeah. Well, then they just kind of ushered him out, and then Skipper's like walking away to I can still picture him like walking off to his pickup, and I come running out. I'm going, hey, dude, no. Those guys fucked up. I know who you are. Don't worry. I'll get this figured out. I'll get this straightened out. Next time, so he had me designing all the Santa Monica Airlines ads. I used to design, during the 80s, I did all of those ads up until Rocco took over SMA.
Okay.
Then they started doing their own thing. I did all the Thunder ads. I did the original logo and artwork and everything for Thunder. I created that whole visual thing. I did all the original ads for that with the boobs and the belt. Yeah.
And you did an early Malva graphic, right? Mickey Alva?
Yeah,
Is it the Tombstone one?
The cemetery.
Yeah. So was that the first board you ever did, or was that that was before Tommy's, right?
Yeah, that was before Tommy's. But I told Malva, I go, hey, I got a great idea. Let's go out to the cemetery. We'll look for some tombstones. And what I wanted is like when he does a front side air and the board's not horizontal but tilted this way, the crucifixes will be standing straight. So when he's going up this way, it would be, lined up right.
Yeah.
So I took the photos and then I made some prints, and then I went to the Xerox machine, and then I kind of, got a lot of different sizes. Then I cut it up. I had this tracing paper with the shape, and then I kind of just like glue sticked them, the stuff in the position that it was at. And he goes, yeah, so then we'll send it to NHS, and then they'll do the artwork and stuff. And like, oh, cool. And then what happened is it looked like they just pretty much did a stat of my junk thing that I sent them. They used that as the graphic. I'm like, no, it's not. I was sending you a concept, not finished art.
Oh, man.
And then Phillips did the other one with the illustration of that. I'm like going, that's what it was supposed to be the first time. So then somebody told me that Jim Phillips got mad because I did that.
Huh.
And she goes, well, yeah, then if he's doing it, then there it is.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. I don't know if that's the truth.
Who came up with the Iron Cross, the logo?
I think that was Phillips doing based off of the observation. I don't remember who all was in that part, but they saw the Pope on the cover of Time magazine, and on the sashes around his, around his neck or whatever, part of his garment, at the bottom were like, a Maltese-looking cross of some kind. And he goes, if the Pope can do it,
right.
We can do it.
Yeah, I heard in 2020 they can't do it. I heard they're taking the Iron Cross away from Indy.
That's because it takes too much energy to tell people that's not a Nazi symbol. That's a symbol that existed, in medieval times. The Pope wears it. It's Snoopy and the Red Baron. It's the same symbol that's on the sides of fighter airplanes and tanks in the modern German army. It's just a herald crest type of thing, A swastika is a swastika. That's a cross.
Yeah.
They're two completely different things with complete different origins. The symbol that got used in World War II was just a carryover from all the centuries of it being used before that. That was their deal. Surfers used it, bikers used it, But, it just takes too much energy to these people who weren't born.
Right.
That 20-year-olds or whatever, oh, no, that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's a swastika, that's anti-Semitic. It's like, well, you're an idiot, but you know what? Fuck it. If we take it away, we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then, I'm not saying that's why they're doing it. That's my impression, and I think they're probably just over it. They go, hey, you know what? I got important things to do, not to explain shit to you every day.
Yeah. It's hard, though, because you built, like, this whole thing, and that's part of the history, and you can't ever erase the history. Like,
it still exists.
Yeah. So.
That'll just make that stuff more collectible.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, the people are fucking energy vampires.
Yeah.
They just want to go, oh, that's racist.
Yeah.
You know what? If you want to go that route, the American flag's racist, you know? Because that's the flag that flew over the people who wiped out all, you know, the pre-American natives, over 100 million, the indigenous population. You know, that's like full genocide. And then the full genocide on the Mexican Americans, and, you know, the sterilization of people and stuff. I mean, it goes on and on and on under that flag. The Indian Wars under that flag. So nobody says that. Why? Because they didn't lose. Any other points?
I do want to know what one of your favorite trips of all times was.
Oh, the Europe tour of like '87. We were out in Europe for a month.
Was Christian and Gator?
Christian, Gator, let's see who, Cab, Lance, Gons, Roscop, Duncan, NoHo.
Holy shit.
There was so much shit that went on in those things. We tried to get out of Paris for like a few days, but everybody would be already all packed in the lobby. Where's Christian? Well, he's not up yet. Fuck, man, we gotta go catch the train. You're gonna miss the train. I wanna go to Normandy. I wanna go look at the bunkers because it's like an anniversary or something. It's June. And then Christian comes down finally and he goes, "What's up?" Dude, are you even packed or ready to go? No, are we leaving? Okay.
Is that the one where I think you told me some story about they went to another country and maybe saw Prince or some concert?
Oh yeah. Gator, Gons, maybe somebody else, but I know for sure Gator and Gons. I think we were in Austria. Where the fuck's Gator and Gons? Well, they went to Paris. Well, why? Oh, they're gonna go see Prince. What? No cell phones, right? Nothing. No way of getting a hold of anybody. But they caught up with us. They came up and like met up with us like at the next stop.
Damn.
Which, I mean, I'm looking back on that whole thing. I'm going, how did we even do that?
Yeah.
You know?
No communication. Like, that's insane. I trip on that too, and I was like 10 years later, I was like, how did we know the bus route and like all that shit?
Yeah, we just figured stuff out.
Yeah.
And there was a big terrorist thing going on when we were in Rome. They're like, oh man, there's like, you know, the Red Brigade or whatever. And so there was a warning, you know, to Americans to keep a low profile and go, all right, idiots, here's the deal. We all talk Cholo. All right, nobody will know who the... Hey, check it out, man. We're going to go down to the forum, eh? Yeah. We're going to go down to the forum. We're going to take a look at the temple of the Vestal Virgins. When we went to the forum, Christian, again, like, he's like, what's this place? Are there any chicks? I don't know, probably. He goes, well, okay, we'll do this, but, you know, half an hour and I'm out. Couldn't drag him out of there after about 4 or 5 hours. He was like, oh, this is awesome, this is cool. I mean, everything was, you know, we were smoking joints down in the other lower pathway kind of thing. Our friend, Christian's friend, Thomas, who had family in Italy, he kind of showed us around a lot, and we had a good time in Rome.
Rad.
The skateboarding wasn't so good on the streets because it was all cobblestone.
Yeah, it's all old.
Yeah. But, you know, we did a lot of cool tourist stuff. Took a lot of photos. And, yeah, that was really fun. And then we flew into Paris, and then we went to Bourges, France, and then we went to Madrid, and Barcelona, and then Nice, and then let's see, Nice, then Rome, and then we went to we took the train from Rome to Milan.
Shit.
But there was a conductor's strike or whatever thing, so it was supposed to be like a few hours, but it ended up taking us all night to go because we had to stop a whole bunch of times because the trains so they didn't crash.
Right.
So we were getting shit faced in the dining car. They just opened up the liquor thing, and there was an American soldier there in uniform, and then there was a Spanish soldier there, and they were trading uniforms, and they were wearing each other's hats and coats, and everybody was drunker than shit. And then I remember the Spanish soldier, he was like trying to communicate, you know, like heavy metal, like he was trying to say heavy metal, but he spelled it like HBYMEDL, you know. That was insane. But we went through all of that in Austria, and then we ended up spending the last part in Amsterdam.
Oh, good way to end it.
Oh, yeah. Well, in Amsterdam, and Suicidal was playing.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so here we are walking around the red light district for a while, like, okay, you know, let's go get laid. I got the company card. And then we went to, I forget what the district or area was, but there was like a lot of Middle Eastern shops and stuff. And then here come these, you know, cholo guys walking down with the bandanas down over their eyes and all that stuff. And I'm like, hey, Mike. And it's like, huh? What are you doing here?
That's
what are
the
you doing
coolest
here?
shit.
We're playing a show. We're ending a tour.
Yeah.
So that he goes, come to our show tonight. You know, so that was pretty fun.
Running into people that far away is the best. Yeah. Like, what?
And Suicidal Tendencies, you know. And so, like, you're saying, hey, this song is for, like, all the guys, you know, on the Thrasher tour. And it's like,
sick.
That didn't get us any chicks. I got a tattoo there at Hanky Panky Tattoo thing. Oh, that same time was the Hells Angels convention.
Oh, damn.
So there was like Hells Angels everywhere. You go like, you know, you'd see Hells Angels Helsinki, Hells Angels Stockton, Hells Angels London.
Yeah.
You know, all these different things. And it was like, wow, this is kind of cool. And they're all like, had these little bags, you know, shopping bags, and they're like touristing, walking around. But, you know.
No way.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Oh, man.
You know, they were window shopping. Oh, I was, I think with Skipper one time, and we went out to Ocean Beach or somewhere, and there was a surfing contest. And so we're walking, you know, sitting on the beach, drinking beers or whatever, and there's like a surfing contest going on, and I'm like going, how does this work? He goes, well, you know, you get a group of guys or whatever, and they go out, and they have, I forget what it was now, but, you know, like either X amount of time to get a certain amount of runs, you know, waves in, and then they get judged upon that. I'm like, well, fuck, man, that's how skate contests should be. You know, a set of amount of time. So I go to Fausto and going, hey, I was at the surfing contest, and how about if we do like a skate deal where you get a handful of, you say there's however many guys, like say 40 guys show up to enter, and just break it up into 4 groups of 10, have them all line up and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, all the ones, you're in the first group.
Yeah.
And then you have the guy go, he skates his run, like, hey, this is Rob Roskop, and he does a run, boom. Okay, this is Steve Cavallero, boom. Okay, then you get 10 guys and they do their first run, and then after they do that, then you go, okay, for the next 15 minutes, you guys session. And then you judge basically how they do. So it's just like a backyard ramp session, and they just do that. And then you go through the other groups, and then you judge based upon the performance from that. Right. Everybody will know. And Fausto goes, oh, that's a cool idea. What do we call it? I go, oh, I don't know. He goes, we'll call it a rep jam. The fuck, man. I'm like, oh man, I created a monster here. Because Fausto, he was like getting used to the idea. So the whole day, rep jam. He'd close his door, and then he'd open it, stick his head out, rep jam. Fuck, dude. Okay. And that's what we did, the Joe Lopes rep jam.
Was that the first one?
Yeah. And then it got changed into, well, we'll do this with it. It's like, why? Yeah. It's okay the way it was.
The way, yeah.
Same thing as I told him on the street skating. I go, we should have a street skating contest. Well, how do we do that? I don't know. Get some refrigerators, or get a car, or get whatever. We'll make some weird ramps, and we'll take them and put them in an area, and the guys just have to skate them.
Right.
We'll figure it out. And that was the Golden Gate Park thing.
Yeah. That was before Capitola?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the Capitola was skating down the course.
Down the course.
Yeah, this thing was just a big flat, center ring kind of thing where guys went out and just did their whole bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of funny because now, X Games this or whatever, I hear the jam, I'm like, I should have copywrote that.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, Skate and Destroy.
That was Stesic.
He sketched it out?
He did the original sketch, but it was just kind of it was probably about 75% cool, but it needed tightening up.
Uh-huh.
So Fausto made me tighten it up.
Oh.
The same thing with
Where did it come from, though? Like the Skate and Destroy, the words and everything, the attitude.
I don't know,
was that
was the first time I saw it.
Oh.
Prevent This Tragedy.
Oh, yeah.
Was another Stesic thing.
A guy falling out of the car.
He just brought this box with these little, a box that had these little devices that you would put on your car door so they wouldn't flip open. Little kids couldn't get them open. And so the illustration on the box, prevent this tragedy in your family, of the kid falling out and hitting his head.
Yeah.
So he brought this box and he gave it to Fausto. He goes, hey, I just thought this might make a cool t-shirt or something.
Right.
Fausto's like, Mofo, make a t-shirt out of that. Okay. So I got it and kind of put some vellum on the top and kind of drew it, and it's still a t-shirt. Is it still?
Yeah.
Weird
What
shit.
year was that? That was early.
Yeah, it was in the mid-'80s. Had to be.
Yeah, that's going strong. And the logo's never changed. I mean, why would it? But we've had I definitely have had at least one art director first day come in and go, I'm going to change the logo. Everyone's like, this guy's not going to last long.
Nope. And then I remember kicking around, getting into hot rods and stuff and liking hot rods. And I go, we should do a Thrasher logo with flames on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to, bar napkin in some bar, like going, dude, I think Ken McGuire, hey, flames on this thing. So Ken is like, say no more. And the next thing I know, he shows this logo with the flames on it. I'm like going, fuck, that's exactly what I was thinking.
That's the hottest thing.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm like going, man, if I could get a penny for every one of those sold. Whoo! But, so that's why when I see pictures of people wearing it, I'm going, hey, you're wearing my shirt. That's my shirt.
Shit. Dude, I could talk to you forever. It's getting cold, though.
That is.
Yeah, maybe we can do a part 2 sometime down the road.
Oh, yeah.
We always end the thing with a song. And before you pick a song to end it with.
Oh, I thought you were going to make me sing.
No. But, like, you could pick a song like, okay, let's go out with fucking this. But I do want to have one little story of the time that you and I spent together working, because it was incredible. I treasure it a lot. And one of the things out of the many is the distillers. I never knew about it, but every day fucking O Sereno was on fucking loud, and I'd be like, I'd kind of be on the other side, like we had the wall between us, but we're in the same, and I'd look over at Paul, he's playing Civilian or whatever he's doing, and I'm like, this is catchy.
Yeah.
That meant a lot when I went to see them, and I kind of bonded with Sally a lot through that band because she loved the lead singer, Brody.
Oh, yeah,
and just her voice, her raspy voice. Anyway, I needed to bring that out and say that. But, yeah, if you got like I don't know, I want to definitely play a few Drunk Injuns songs through the interview, but we could end with one too, or you could pick something that kind of has a message or means something or whatever you want to do, really.
Oh, I might have some engine stuff that people haven't heard.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
But I'll put together some stuff and I'll send it to you.
Oh, that'd be incredible. I love that one you sent me, the Big Boys cover.
Red green.
Yeah, red green. So sick.
Yeah, that one's
Man,
fun.
Tim's a really cool guy. I didn't even know him at all, and I just hit him up on social media, and I was like, "You down?" He's like, "Sure," but I don't know why. Like, he's really kind of humble.
Yeah, he's very humble.
Yeah. So I know. Dude, I eat up all this history stuff though. Like, you guys were the fucking pioneers, and like, I respect the hell out of all y'all, and like, I loved learning new little things. I've been at the mag for 20 plus years, and there's so much stuff I don't know, and I appreciate you guys. So,
well, thing is that Fausto and Eric, the ethos that they would always say is, like, don't give them what they want, give them what they need, and controversy creates public opinion. So we would just say, fuck, I don't care what you want. I'm going to do this because I think that this, because you get too many cooks in the kitchen,
right,
and then you just, you get something bland.
Right.
But if there's this one thing that's energy, I don't agree with that. Good, talk about it.
Yeah.
Talk about what you think. But if it's something that like makes everybody happy, nobody talks about it. It's like it gets dismissed, And what those guys did is, as hard ass as they were, they did give us a lot of freedom. We got away with all kinds of shit.
Sure, as long as the job got done. You want to work from 2 a.m. till 5 a.m, just get it done.
Yeah. Well, man, that'd be, I don't know how many all-nighters I pulled there. We'd like get a 8-ball, a bunch of weed.
At the shipyards?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And, whiskey, and just sit there and just like, okay, I finished the layout for this article. Go over to the little table. Okay, and a shot of whiskey. And then some of these McDonald's fries. And okay, go back to do another layout and hurry it up because I want to do some more.
Right.
I don't know how many times. Swenson came in and to me asleep on his couch. I'm like going, fuck, it's like 5 in the morning. I ain't gonna go home and then come back.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna yell at me anyway. So it was freezing in there like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, luckily I always wore leather jackets and stuff, so I would like cover, wrap myself up in that, and then I would get the Thrasher banner and wrap up my legs and
Fuck. Yeah, I can imagine it's freezing out there.
But a lot of the things I learned how to do there, I was trying to do something else. And the thing is that people are like, oh man, people weren't killed. I mean, I noticed a whole bunch of times there could have been,
right?
One way or the other by a little bit, it could have ended badly.
Yeah.
Gator's a thing that a combination of things led to that, what occurred. It's sad.
Super sad.
He was judged. He's doing that the judicial system is set up to do. And
Have you ever written him?
a long time ago, yeah. I just not very communicative with many people at all.
Yeah, Jason was super bummed. He was Jason's idol. Like, he loved Gator, and he still got his board and everything. He's just like...
Jesse?
Yeah. I'm friends with Jason pretty good, and...
I just got a text from him. He sent me his new phone number.
Oh, sick.
Like, day before yesterday.
Rad.
Yeah, just the circumstances and the combination of things led to that.
It's gnarly.
What if he got up and went to the movies instead that day? What if he didn't answer the phone and missed that one call? I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people, I've seen them in rage and all that stuff. Heck, some of the parties like in Houston and all that stuff. I remember staring down a crossbow of some guy that didn't like the way the skateboarders were done with fucking Cab and Lance, like hiding behind me, like, fuck!
No way.
Mofo, help us! Like, what the hell? Wait, who the hell's this guy with a crossbow coming at me?
Right.
And then,
fuck.
And then, Monty Noelle come running up. Get me from here, asshole! Hey, fuck you! And then I'm like, fuck! I mean, he came at like a beast. I'm like, well, I'm done here.
Yeah.
But a lot of period when those guys were little, I was the older guy, so I took care of them and stuff.
Right. Yeah, Tommy, I think his first flight was with you.
Poor guy.
He's like, dude, my first flight. I think the story was you and Swenson, and he's like, that's my first flight ever. He's like, it was pretty gnarly.
Was he one of the ones that got Sharpied on the flight to Japan?
I don't know.
I know some of those younger guys that were up in the front row, like staying together.
Fell asleep and got...
Yeah, man. And I remember that Craig Johnson, like a lot of us took acid before we got on the plane.
Damn.
Or magic mushrooms, one or the other. So like, I remember sitting in there and it's just like going, fuck, that's loud. What is that?
Oh.
And then 2 seats behind me is Craig Johnson with a big blast box that he bought at the airport. He had 1 cassette tape. Andrew Dice Clay.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm like...
In the plane?
In the plane, blasting it. Hickory dickory dock. Old Mother Hubbard.
Holy shit, that's epic.
I'm like, and I had never heard of Andrew Dice Clay. I'm like, well, what the fuck is this? And then it was one of those big jumbo jets, so it's like it had a middle and then the sides. And then somewhere back in the middle, I forget who it was, but I hear this commotion, and then somebody goes, fuck man, he's peeing. And I look back and there's these guys climbing over the tops of the seats trying to get away from the guy who was peeing himself, who had passed out and was like, and they're like, ah, fuck him, he's peeing. What? And then we drank the plane out of alcohol. It only happened once before, but this time, and then the stewardesses were crying. And then somehow, like, everybody, the pilot came over, and they were coming to me, like,
to try to like calm down.
Like, well, they're going, like, coming to me, like, you know, the voice of reason,
the guardian angel, and
I'm like, high on mushrooms or acid, whatever it was, and they're like, the goes, I'm the pilot of the plane. Well, what the fuck are you doing back here? Who's flying this thing? Why are you? He goes, we've had numerous, you know, reports of disturbances from your group. This isn't my group. Oh, man. It's just a group I'm in. They're all big boys. Well, except those guys up there with the stuff on their face. You know? And
Dad's talking about that.
And they go, well, we're going to have to stop serving you alcohol. I'm going, look, those guys are the ones that are fucking up, not me. So bring me 6 cans of beer, and then I'll tell them to be quiet. And so I didn't get 6 cans of beer. I got like 3 because it was gone.
Running out.
Yeah, everybody drank everything. And then like Johnson and those guys got the duty free. I think Duncan might have been on that flight. Hackett was on that flight.
Oh shit.
And everybody was just lit. Oster was on that flight.
To Europe?
No, this is to Tokyo. Oh, that was crazy. Yeah, because at the duty free they bought like 5ths of hard alcohol, so they were like gunning it on the plane. And
it was anything goes back then. You could smoke on the plane and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was crazy.
We got to Tokyo, and they put us in these limousine buses, and so they drove us to the hotel, the Royal Oak Hotel.
Yeah, I still remember it.
And we go in there into a press conference, like, and then, so we've been up for like 20-something hours. You know, I had to fly down to LA. We went to LA and met up with everybody. Then we flew to Japan.
Okay.
So anyway, we go to the press conference. It was November. It was like November like 20th. And we're going to be there for a week. You know, and so they're like, you know, like being all nice and gracious and, you know, and we're like all stinky and drunk. And then here you got these guys with a Sharpie on their face, you know, and Grasso, he was there.
Ah, sick.
And then I'm like going, raising my hand, and they're going, yes. I go, what the fuck's gonna happen for Thanksgiving? We want turkey. We want. They're going, what? And so I go, yeah, you know, or we ain't doing nothing. And so they ended up getting this huge banquet table with just all kinds of stuff, like big old fish with eyeballs like this, all cooked and like on there, just like a mountain of food. Right. I'm like, what's this? Your Thanksgiving. Where the fuck's the turkey?
Sushi.
Turkey? This is Japan. I don't know if they have turkeys. But we ate all kinds of other stuff, and then after, but after that, the whatchamacallit, the press conference, then we got assigned our rooms. I shared a room with Jay Adams.
Oh.
You know, it was
heavy.
Crazy. But then we took off, and, you know, I mean, getting up for hours, well, days or whatever. Go to the, we go to the Roppongi district or whatever. And then I got in a fight with an Australian guy who tried pushing me away from the bar. to like elbow me out of the way so he could order.
Right.
I'm like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. So anyway, I got in a fight with him, threw him over a hedge into the street. I mean, drunk, I could do anything. And then the reason why I remember the name of the hotel is because I didn't remember the name of the hotel. And so I'm like trying to tell a taxi to take me to the hotel. And then he takes me to a hotel, and I think it's the wrong hotel.
Oh,
and the sun's coming up, and I'm like, oh, I can't, you know, I'm like fading hard. And I'm at the wrong hotel. And some guy was talking to me, and he goes, it was something else Park Hotel, or something Royal something that I was at. But I was like, well, it's one of these names. And he goes, ah. And then so what he did is he called the hotel. He goes, you have a person by this name? He goes, yeah. And he goes, I found it. I go, okay, good. Get me into a cab and tell him where to take me. And so I go in there. I walk in the door. Jay Adams is coming out of the shower like, all right, just, you know, ready for the day. And I'm like,
done.
Yeah. And so and that went on for a couple days of us missing each other because I just couldn't get, after the jet lag, after everything.
Yeah.
You know. And then when we went to the contest thing, these guys are riding on the half pipe. They go up and do an air, come down, and holes right through the ramp, wheels poking right through, so they had to rebuild the ramp. And we're out there standing there drinking these big fifths of vodka, like, okay.
Oh, damn.
You know.
Fuck. Amazing.
More
man.
stories like that, part 2.
Well, maybe not so quick, but I forgot, when did Mofo become Mofo?
Skating, like back Winchester days.
Like before Thrasher?
Oh, yeah. It became Mörizen something.
Föche, right?
However it's pronounced. Because I would, you know, date girls or whatever. They'd bring me to meet their parents. And, oh, Mofo, what does that stand for? Oh, motherfucker. Oh, okay. You know, we forgot that she's like got something to do with us tonight, so she's like,
yeah.
See you again ever. Okay, I go, you know, this keeps happening. And then so I'm, you know, at the place up on Potrero Hill, listening to the Doors, LA Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes to the part that goes, Mr. Mojo rising, Mojo rising, keep on rising. I'm like, Mörizen.
Oh.
Mörizen. Ah, there we go. And then I'll use the name of this French general, whose name was General Foch. I'll just put an E on the end, and then I'll put 2 dots over the O's. Because I like dots over the O's.
That's amazing.
And it turns out it's a real name.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, because these German people were like, visit Thrasher, and this German woman, she goes, Mörizen. What? Mörizen, that's how it's pronounced. Really? Oh yeah, very common name. I'm like, are you shitting me, really?
Wow.
And then when I was in Europe, I looked in the phone book.
Oh yeah?
There was just a whole bunch of that Mörizen Föche. I'm like, holy shit. Oh well.
Another example of like trying to do something and it ends up a different way.
Trying to do something nonsensical and ends up being real.
Holy shit. Well, thanks for spending so much time.
Absolutely.
Let's cut out of here, but what song should we drop right now?
The final song that we're going to do coming out, how about She Got a Gun?
I like it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Mo.
Thank you.
clover, evil lies. Thoughts are deceptive, this ain't paradise. Believe what you see, believe what you feel. Immortally foolish, so categorized. Thoughts of tomorrow tear me apart. I think of the past, feel the pain of my heart. What's dead to the world? What's right? What's wrong? Hot wind, cold night, demon light is shining bright. I look at you. I looked at her hand, she got so good. I look at you. I can feel, I can touch, I can see, I can kill. I'm not a god, I'm a man. Look, listen. Oh, why don't you understand that I speak of joy, speak of hunger, speak of sadness, I speak of pain, I speak of the wasted times of worry. Can you remember our pain? Hello, hey yo. I looked at her hand, she got a gun. Hello, hey yo. Hey, look at her hand, look at her hand. Can't get away from her, I gotta live from her. Look at her hand, look at her hand. Can't get away from her, I've got to let from her. Hello, hey yo. I looked at her hand, she got that gun. Hello, hey yo. Four-leaf clover, evil lies. Thoughts are deceptive, this ain't paradise. Believe what you see, believe what you feel. Immortally foolish, so categorize. Thoughts of tomorrow tear me apart. I think of the past, feel the pain of my heart. What's dead to the world? What's right? What's wrong? Hot wind, cold night, demon light is shining bright. Hello, hey yo. I looked at her hand, she got so good. Hello, hey yo. Hello, hey yo. I looked at her hand, she got so good. Hello, hey yo. I looked at the trigger, the flash of the bird.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Talkin Schmit. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. When you subscribe, you'll get notifications every Tuesday of new episodes the minute they become available. Also, please leave reviews and a 5-star rating. It's the best way to help the show grow. All of the episodes will always remain free, but if you would like to help support the show, you can do so at talkinschmit.com, where you can pick up some merchandise like t-shirts, beanies, hats, and stickers. The website has an entire archive of all of the episodes, with extra photos and videos. Email us with any suggestions, comments, or ways that the show may have improved your life at talkinschmit@gmail.com. All interviews are conducted, edited, and produced by Schmitty. The intro music is Mary's Cross by the band Nature. Very special shout out goes to the executive director, Cheryl Camisa.
Shout out.
Love it!
This is Talkin Schmit, where the Rolodex is deep, but the conversation is deeper.